Allison here, the Bored Housewife. I'm super excited you're joining me for another episode. I got my 70s flair on today. Not that that has anything to do with the episode content, but I thought it would be fun. So I'm going to try really hard not to flash you. I stood up. Maybe this wasn't the best shirt. Anyways, so this episode, I'm going to tell you guys about the creepy crawlies and the craziness that is living in Alabama. Now, I want to start the episode off with saying it is a wonderful place to live. We have really enjoyed our time here, but there are a few negatives. So if you don't mind the negatives, or if you happen to find a place that doesn't have these things, then you'll be fine. But yeah, I wouldn't say it wouldn't stop me from coming back here, but when we leave, I'm going to look forward to not having to deal with some of this stuff. So, anyways, before we came out here, I saw several videos of, and memes and stuff about living in the South, about the gnats, which the gnats, they do make those, have you guys seen those videos of, the swirling gnats, or, people making fun of, the gnats, how they, come in your house? We'll get one every once in a while, but they're really not that bad. But you, see them out, and it's, they're just swarming. It's kind of crazy, when you see them out there. And if you run through it, of course. But luckily, we haven't had too many issues of them getting in our house. But, the fire ants, the snakes, there's scorpions, depending on where you live. They got it all down here. It's oh, here's nice, hot, humid weather for you, and a bunch of crap that also likes living in hot, humid weather. So you're okay, fine, whatever. Anyways, I'm going to tell all, guys. So get ready. If you're squeamish, you might not want to sit through this one, but it'll be fun, I promise. So grab your drink or beverage of choice. Maybe your lavender bee's knees. I don't know if you guys can tell how pretty that is, but anyways, cheers, guys. Let's have some fun. All right, guys, before we get started, I know that was a super explosive introduction, but we got to get to the cocktail of the hour. So here you have the lavender bee's knees. Lavender's bee's knees. Why do I keep putting an S on that? Lavender bee's knees. I did 3 ounces of gin, half an ounce of lavender liqueur. I did a full ounce of the honey simple syrup, which I'll give that recipe in a second. And then I did half a squeezed lemon, and then stirred it up and poured it straight up like this. So the lavender bee's knees. So usually I just buy my simple syrup at the store, but because this one is honey infused, a regular bee's knees is all the same ingredients except no lavender. And the original lavender bee's knees that I looked up, they actually infused their simple syrup with lavender instead of using a lavender liqueur. So I know some of my friends are pregnant or hoping to get pregnant very soon. So if you guys wanted a simple version of this, which would be really good, you could make the simple syrup with some lemon juice, and then, stir that up, pour it over ice, and then maybe top it off with some seltzer water or something, and it would taste like a nice little cocktail. The simple syrup, how you make that is you put together well, for this simple syrup anyways, you put together a cup of water, half a cup of sugar, half a cup of honey, and then you bring that to a boil. And then you take it off the heat and you let it sit for at least 15 minutes, because when you put it in your cocktail, you don't want it to like melt your ice too fast. And then that will keep for up to like 2 weeks. If you want to lavender infuse it, for those of you that either don't have like lavender liqueur or you don't want alcohol in your cocktail, you can actually get lavender sprigs. It said like 4 to 5 lavender sprigs, and you can put that in as it's sitting for the 15 minutes. And then just make sure you strain that out before, you put it in your drink. So there's that if you want a non-alcoholic version, or if you want to make your own simple syrup. I don't know if you just took simple syrup and honey in the thing. Like, it might be the honey might not come through as well. So I know it's kind of a pain in the butt making the simple syrup, but it actually was a lot less work than I thought it would be. And it'll last you for several drinks for sure. Like, I had quite a bit left over. So anyways, let's get to the episode, guys. So I thought it would be relevant to start the episode because Alabama is so wild. It is crazy, guys. The South is crazy. In good ways. I'm talking about the negative today, but it's funny. I think you guys will get a kick out of it. I feel like some of you have seen my Instagram, Facebook stories where I've had a few run-ins now with some shit. And this will just kind of like help bring everything together. My fan was still on. It's getting hot here in Alabama, and it's like you either got to like kick the air conditioning up to like freeze you out, or you're hot. So it's like one or the other. So I wanted to start with the weather because that was the thing when we first moved here. So both my husband and I are from Iowa, okay? We are from Tornado Alley. We grew up with them. We are very familiar with them. We know the protocols. We were the kids from all the way to kindergarten to high school that, you go out into the hallway and you like put the book over your head, to make sure if it debris falls, at least your head is safe. Hide under desks, that kind of shit. That was my husband and I, Iowa, okay? But the thing about Iowa is tornado season is like maybe March to maybe early June. And that's not to say that crazy shit can't happen and you have a random tornado in the middle of the summer. But usually by the time of July, it is way too hot and humid for that. And even like going into the fall, they just don't have the cold and hot fronts collide like they do down here all the time. Like, we literally had a tornado in January this year, and you're just like, what the hell? So we're thinking like we're badasses, like we're from Iowa, we can handle bad weather, right? No, because we're just like this one season, you hold your breath for a while, and then you're like, okay, we made it through this year, and you move on. Also, Iowa has basements, so you always feel safe because you have these like, maybe your basement's not finished, but it's a full basement, and everyone has their place, right? It's not like that down here, guys. So we get here, and we got here around October. So we kind of missed all of summer. So when we showed up, the house seemed like fine, whatever. We had a few cockroaches here and there, which I'll get to in a minute. But then the landlords, they were like, oh, okay, like we'll help you like get a bug person. And that kind of helped for a while. So I don't know what time of year it was. Maybe it was January or February. I don't know. It was a very wet winter that year. We had so much rain. So I just remember like getting here in October and just like it raining every single week, it felt like. So we're like, okay, whatever. Well, one morning we wake up and maybe it's like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or something like that. And our alarms on our phone are going off for a tornado. And we didn't even know that it was going to tornado. Because like also in Iowa, when you step outside, like you can feel the pressure in the air. Everything gets super still. That doesn't happen here. Like one day I came out and we had tornadoes pretty close to the house. And that was the only day that I was like, I feel the pressure change. But most of the time, like, it's just like tornado and then they're out of here. And they come from like Texas and Oklahoma. And so it's like kind of crazy because now that I know, we watch the weather. And it's like you can see the storms that are happening in Texas and Oklahoma. Like, it's called Dixieland, I think, or Dixie Alley. I don't know what the hell they call it. Dixie something. And you see that same storm, it will come across through Texas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. And usually by the time it gets into Georgia, it like moves on out. So usually, or it's like lost some steam. So usually doesn't get like too much further than that, or like goes out to the ocean. But yeah, so our alarms are going off like crazy. We have not talked about what our tornado plan is, so we have no idea what to do. We just jump out of bed and we just start running around the house. We're like throwing on clothes. We're looking out the window. We're like looking back. The sirens outside start going off, and the sirens here talk to you. I don't know if your sirens wherever you live, if you have tornadoes, talk to you, but they're like, get inside now. Seek shelter now. This is a tornado alert. Like, and those sirens only go off like if a tornado is like hitting the ground, or if they've gotten news that a tornado is hitting the ground. So we're like, oh my God, we don't know what to do. And I guess we knew we had a crawl space, but guys, like, we're not going down there. It is terrifying down there. If you've seen my story, you've seen inside of that. It is so scary. So I'm like, I'm not going in that. I'm not. And we didn't know what to do. So we hop in my husband's truck. And we live like literally down the street from a Publix. So we hop in the truck and we drive to Publix thinking that we'll just seek shelter in the Publix that might be open. And like now, like looking back on it, like after the whole thing was done, like we got to the parking lot and I was just like, this is a really bad idea. My husband was like, yeah, we're really dumb. It's like it hit us. And I think the thing that happened is that even though we're from Iowa, like we have not lived somewhere where tornadoes happen for a really long time. Like I lived in New York after high school, and he moved down to Nashville for like a year and a half, and then he joined the Marine Corps, where he spent most of his time in California. And like New York has tornadoes, but not New York City. Like there's been like tornadoes and stuff on Long Island, but I don't think that like with all the tall buildings, this is my theory, when you have like dense areas with like big buildings and stuff, I don't think the wind can like pick up to like maintain a tornado. It's like most of the time when you see tornadoes, they're like out in open areas, you know? So anyways, we're so dumb. And so we're like, okay, what are we going to do? Like we drive back home. At this point, the sirens have stopped because, you know, tornadoes happen that fast and they're gone. And we're just like, we're lucky that was not our time. So we discussed it, and we're like, okay, we have a second bath. We have 2 bathrooms, and one bathroom doesn't have any windows. So we're like, okay, and it's in the middle of the house. We're like, from now on, tornado, that's where we go. So now when we hear tornadoes, we just go in there and we sit in the bathtub with our blankets over our heads, like, okay, is this gonna be the time? But luckily, like where our house is near Gunnersville Lake, we're kind of we are like in a valley more so. So we're like, not that a tornado couldn't happen, because it most definitely can. But I just think like when the conditions are right in the areas around us, it's like it doesn't affect us as much because, you know, the pressure and everything is different from here. I think it's like almost like a 6,000 or 1,000 foot drop from like Gunnersville up to like the next town that we go to. People call it the mountain. I wouldn't necessarily call it a mountain, but it's a big hill that you have to like go up to get to the next town. So we're kind of in a like little interesting pocket that sometimes weather just reacts differently. But we do still get strong winds. And so the one thing that actually does worry me more so than tornadoes is we have these extremely tall, skinny trees. So they grow really tall, and then at the top they're almost like a pine tree kind of thing. They're really kind of cool, but they just grow so tall, and their roots aren't very like deep. So when we get a lot of rain and stuff, the ground gets super saturated, and then you get in some like high winds. So with like one of the storms that we experienced, we got some really high winds. Thank goodness nothing around us fell down, but there's this like park area which they don't have as many trees around each other, so like the wind kind of just ripped through that area. But the trees just literally roots and all knocked over. And you're like, whoa, like that's crazy. So I'm more worried about like a tree falling on our house than I am like a tornado like spinning through here. But you guys, like, it's all the time. Like, it could be any time. You never know when a freaking tornado could hit. And it's like, oh, storm a brewing. Okay, here we go. And it's just like, oh my God. So yeah, wasn't expecting that moving to Dixieland, let me tell you. You know, we finally, like, the first, like, few months living here, we're here, like, almost 5 months, really, before, like, you start having, like, the summery weather. And if I remember correctly, that first year we were here, like, by April, it was really warm already. It was hot. The last 2 years we've been here, Alabama has actually had a spring, which our friends who've lived here for a while, they're like, this is kind of different because most of the time, it just goes from like cold to hot, and you're like, okay. So with the warm weather, all the little God's creatures start to come out. And I wasn't like, I don't know. I didn't know. And I have this thing that I call ASP. I think it's going to catch on. It stands for Always Stay Paranoid. You can use it in any scenario you like. I use it because I'm terrified of bugs, and I'm terrified of things that could hurt me. So, where I got this from is when I was a little girl. I was laying on my grandma's couch, and I've always had like longer hair, especially when I was a little girl, I did. And so, you know, things tickle you. Like your hair tickles you all the time, right? So I was like laying on the couch, like sideways watching cartoons, and I feel this little tickle on my neck. And I kind of like just brush my hair, and I feel it again. And I grab it, and it's a black, juicy spider. And I throw it across the room, screaming, because of course, why wouldn't you? And I was like, oh my God, that was scary. There was a spider on my neck, in my hand, whatever. I don't know how much longer after this, the same exact thing happened. It happened twice. And I was done after that. I was like, oh my God, spiders are out to get me. I hate spiders. And I don't know if it's from those experiences or what, but I have an immense fear of spiders. Arachnophobia is me. Ask anybody who knows me. I freak out. I freak out when there's spiders. So, I've gotten better at killing them myself. I can kill them. And it's like I have a warrior cry when I kill spiders, which I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, so I have this thing called ASP. And so anything that's in my peripherals that seems like out of place, like what is that? Like I'm like, you know, because when you're not paranoid, you end up like a friend of mine, and I won't name names. She knows who she is. And crazy shit happens to you, and you're like, oh my God, why did that happen to me? And I told her, I was like, because you're not paranoid enough. You have to be paranoid. You know, check things before you put things into things. Not gonna call you out, girl, but you know who you are. Anyways, so yeah, I'm like, I see something in my peripheral. I'm like, what is that? I feel something on me. Oh, it's just my hair. Good. I don't have to have a heart attack then. So, anyways, moving out here, I'm just sitting out on my porch, and there are just so many new things, so many new critters that I am finding out about. So they have like stuff like creatures and critters and stuff that like rest of America has, but then it's like Jurassic Park down here. It's like everything's like bigger and better. It's like, oh, it's hotter, so like I don't know, like seasons are longer or something. They can grow more. Like I don't know, but it's like, you know, they have the regular wasps and the regular bees and all of that, but then it's like they just have so many other things. So one of the first things I noticed were these red, scary looking wasps. And they are terrifying looking. They're bigger than regular wasps. And they're red. And so I was going to the liquor store one day. And surprise, surprise. And as I was driving there, one of them landed on my mirror and was holding on for dear life as I drove there. Now, I like lived down the road from this liquor store, so we didn't go very far. But then I sat there in my car because I was like, what is this terrifying flying beast hanging on to my mirror? I don't want to get off. Like, I don't want to get out of the car. So he finally flies off, and I get out of my car. I'm like looking around, making sure he's not still around. And I go inside and I, pick out my stuff, and I go to check out, and I ask the guy, I'm like, what are these like red bee looking wasp things? Like, what are those? And he's like, oh, those are mahogany wasps. I'm like, mahogany wasps? And he's like, yeah. I was like, are they like the same as regular wasps, or are they worse? And he's like, oh yeah, they're way worse. You don't want to get bit by one of those. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, I just moved here, and I'm not from the South, obviously. And we don't have those where I'm from. He's like, yeah, you won't stay away from those. He's like, also stay away from the fire ants. I'm like, fire ants? What do they look like? And I'm thinking, I always thought when people said fire ants, I always thought they like looked like red, so you would know the difference. And he's like, they look like regular ants. They're black, and they look like regular ants. And I'm like, what the hell? What the damn hell? So your wasps are red, and they're bad, so at least we know that. Red is usually worse than, black and yellow. So, okay. And your fire ants look like regular ants, but they bite you and they hurt. Okay, got it. So the first summer we were here, my husband's mom, so my mother-in-law, came down, and she brought our niece with her so that we could spend some time with her. So I gave her a few heads up on things that I had learned because she's a little girl. And I'm like, don't step on ant hills, because if you do, the ants might be fire ants and they will bite you and it'll hurt really bad. So she was like, okay. I had to give her a couple of other warnings. We have like stray dogs and cats that just run rampant. Like, where's the fucking leash law, Alabama? Like, why do these cats and dogs just get run all over the place? Drives me nuts. But anyways, my mother-in-law lives on a farm, and they have cats and stuff, and so I know she likes to play with the cats and everything. So I was like, don't touch the cats either, because they got like some funky eye stuff. It's like, you don't want any part of that. So she's like, okay. So then my mother-in-law told me later, she was like, yeah, she got into some of the ants, and she was like, Aunt Allison was right. They do hurt. It's like, I told you. Yeah, so they have ants that bite you that look like regular ants. So, okay, that's cool. And then they have cockroaches, or maybe you call them palmetto bugs, or maybe if you're a New Yorker, you call them the water bug. Yeah, they have those here too. And at this point in my life, I'm like, whatever. Everywhere I've lived since Iowa has had cockroaches. So, okay, actually that's not true. In LA, I did not have cockroaches. So in California, I did not have cockroaches. California's. I do miss California because they don't have a lot of bugs. They do have other stuff though. So, anyways, yeah. So the cockroaches are crazy, and some of them will fly at you. So you don't know until you go to kill it if it is a regular cockroach or a flying cockroach. So when you go to like smash it, or at our house we try to spray them with the Raid, and I'll tell you why in a minute. They like know they're gonna die, and they go they make that noise and they fly at you, and you're like ah! And if you're me, you run in the bathroom and hide for a minute and let your husband kill him. If he's not home, then you have to man up and do it yourself. But then you get a big glass of wine afterwards because you deserve it. So, anyways, yeah. So when I lived in New York, I don't remember if it was a super or a bug guy. I'm not sure which one told me this. But they said to never squish the cockroaches with your shoe, because the female cockroaches, or if there is such a thing, I don't know, cockroaches all look the same, so who knows. But the females carry their eggs on their back. This is how smart these little buggers are. They carry their eggs on their back, and their eggs are spiky and minuscule, so like the human eye probably can't see them. But if you squish them, then they'll die, but their eggs will get stuck in the bottom of your shoe. And then everywhere you walk, those little eggs will survive, and you'll just spread them around, and then they'll hatch and more cockroaches. So they always said, or whoever told me, was like, try to kill it with Raid, because then you kill everything. And then like, if you do have to clean it with the shoe, like bleach your shoe afterwards, to try to like, and wipe it off to try to get those like potential eggs off the bottom of your shoe. So just a little tip from me to you. Okay, so last thing, buggy wise, I'm going to talk about are spiders. And I have arachnophobia, like I mentioned. And it's bad, guys. It's really bad. And where we are moving to next, I'll give you guys a hint. They have huntsman spiders, and they have various names depending on the area that you live in. I'm not really sure exactly what they call them where we're moving to, but they're like this. They're like that big. And my friend who lived there said that they will chase after you if you try to like sweep them out of the place. Like, I don't even think you can like step on them. But anyways, we'll get there. I'll keep you guys posted. I think if I see one of those on my wall, I'll just pass out, because I'll just be like, eat me, spider. I can't. Anyways, so I've always had, this fear of spiders, and I've dealt with them my whole life, and it just doesn't go away. I even look at pictures on the internet to try to like desensitize myself to spiders, and it just makes it worse. My husband and I saw some tarantulas crossing the road one time, and when I tell you guys about our national park tour, I will tell you that story, because it's funny, but it was also crazy to see them. Like wild tarantulas. So here, luckily, we don't have, not that I've seen, we haven't seen anything that big. The most I've seen is like a spider about like that big, and it was a chunky spider, and it kept making this web, and I killed it with some wasp spray, because I thought if it kills wasps, it's got to kill spider, right? So he either just went away or died. But I learned, like, if you take down their webs, they'll eventually move away. But these spiders are ruthless. I think when I take down the webs, they're like, oh, no one's, like, here, so I'm going to make my home. It's like new spiders move in. It's just like, come on, guys. So every time I go out onto my deck, There's spider webs everywhere. There's spiders everywhere. They have a heyday out there. They love it. So if I want to sit on my deck and enjoy my home, I get out there and have a spider broom. This broom does not come into the house. It also kills other things. It does sweep the deck too, but it's mostly there to get rid of spiders. And we have all kinds of spiders. Most of the spiders by my house are like wolf spiders or like these one spiders, which I don't even know. They're so crazy. During the day, they and we have these like slits in the roof of our deck, and so I think that's why they like to come. But they go like this. My armpits are sweaty. But they they close themselves up, and they just look like a little string of nothing. They look like one spider leg is what they look like. And the first time I was like, what is that? And I took the broom and it was like, phew. And I was like, it's a spider. So now I know how to kill them. So now I would take the broom and I'm like, ugh, and I do it forcefully. Oh, this is my spider warrior cry. Actually, anything that I'm killing goes, I was not to laugh. It's serious, for real. My mom, I lived in the basement as a kid, and there was a bloody murder cry, which is the first scream. I'm not going to do that. That'll kill your eardrums. And that is acknowledging the presence of an enemy. And then the second one is me bucking up, being a she-woman, and killing the damn thing. I had a spider-killing shoe when I was living in that house, and I kept it out so that it could smell the death of its predecessors. You won't come around here. She kills spiders. I hate them. I know they do good things. Just don't come near my house. Don't come near me. If you want to be a spider, go be a spider. Go kill the bugs that I hate. I hate mosquitoes. They blow me up. I get a mosquito bite. It's that big, swollen. I look ridiculous. It's crazy. Go eat them. Just not by my house. Okay? Is that why can't we have a treaty here, guys? I won't kill you if you don't come near me. Anyways. So that's what I do out there. Sweep all the webs off before I can even relax. It's exhausting to be this terrified of spiders, guys. And then every once in a while, we get a daddy long leg, and I don't know what it is about those. They're gross. They're just gross. So anyways, yes. Today, I was doing my thing with the broom. I was on the phone with my mom. I was like, oh, there's a spider here. And so I took the broom, and it was kind of a bigger spider, and I hadn't seen this one before. And we do have black widows and brown recluse down here, but I'm pretty sure it was brown, but I don't think it was a brown recluse because, yeah, it wasn't. It definitely wasn't. So I took the broom, though, but it was a bigger spider than I'm used to seeing out there. And I was trying to kill it. And then it, as I brought the broom away, the spider was coming to me, and I was like, ah! And I got away from it, and that's all my mom heard. She was like, are you okay? And I'm throwing the broom, and I was like, oh my God, my neighbors have to think I'm insane. And I'm like, maybe that's an okay thing, because when I do my episode on my neighbors, I'm kind of glad they think I'm a crazy person. So I'll tell you about that another time. But yeah, so luckily I escaped the spider from jumping on me. I don't think he intentionally tried to jump on me. I'll give him some credit. But I think that he would have had I not reacted. And then I don't know if I killed him or not, but he was on the ground, all disoriented. And then I took my broom. I got him. I got him, guys. So here is the creme de la creme of the story. This is the best one. You know, the bugs don't come around all the time, right? You can deal with bugs. Well, you can and you can't, right? Like, I can deal with the spiders on my deck. If I don't feel like brushing them off with the spider broom, then I just don't go out there that day. You know, if a cockroach gets in, yeah, I gotta kill it, and we kill it, and we move on. And it's usually, sometimes I spray it with the Raid and I leave it there for my husband to pick up. I don't like picking it up. But yeah, you know, bugs are bugs. You're gonna have them everywhere. Here in Alabama, we have a lot of snakes. And I wouldn't say, like, I'm not scared of snakes the same way that I'm scared of spiders. Like, you bring a spider near me, I'm gonna freak out. Even if you know this spider. This is your pet spider. It'll die if it comes near me, or I'll kill you and the spider. Like, no. If you brought a pet snake near me and was like, this is my pet snake, and I'm like, you know the snake? The snake is cool. Yeah, you can touch the snake. It's not gonna hurt you. As long as it's not poisonous. Like, if it's a poisonous snake, I'm probably not interested in coming anywhere near it just because I don't want to get bitten by it. But, like, if it's, like, a constricting snake, you know, I've been to those exhibits with the snakes, and we have, like, the picture of the snake around us, and I've touched him. Like, that is, like, totally fine to me. That doesn't scare me at all. But wild snakes, I don't know these snakes, okay? I don't know what their intentions are. I don't know if they're poisonous, if they're restricting snake. I don't know what their deal is, right? So that's scary. And also, I don't have a pet snake. I don't care to, like, see them. Like, you know, like, they're kind of cool in some ways, but then in other ways, like, again, the wildness of them freaks me out. Because they're unpredictable. You don't know what they're going to do. So, the first year we were out here, I thought for sure, like, we're going to see a snake. It's going to be a thing. I didn't see a single snake by our house. Down the road a little ways, I was driving one day, and there was this, like, coiled up thing on the edge of the road. I was like, what is that? And so I slowed down, and as I was coming up, the snake was sunning. So he, like, flopped himself off into the bush, like, area. I was like, oh my God, that's a snake. And he was really big. So I was like, wow, okay, that was scary. That was it. My friend that summer, she killed several rattlesnakes that were on their property. And so I was just like, wow, I can't believe, like, we haven't seen any snakes. Also, we live super close to the water, and they have copperheads and water moccasins here, both of which swim. So I was just, like, blown away that, like, on our property we hadn't seen anything. But I was like, maybe because the dogs and the cats are wild, like, the snakes don't come around. And I was like, fine, the dogs and cats can be wild. That was the only time that I, like, was okay with the fact that the dogs are crazy. Because I'm like, maybe they keep the snakes away. So then next summer comes around. And I'm sitting on my porch after cleaning the spiders, and I hear this rustling around. And, like, how our deck is, it's kind of like a hill down off of it. I'm like, what's that noise? So I'm kind of, like, looking around, and then I look off the front of the deck, and there are two snakes intermingling with each other. They're doing the dirty. These snakes are mating in front of my house. I was like, so gross. So I took a video of it, of course, because why wouldn't you? But I'm like, this is freaky. What the fuck are they doing down here? So I was, like, on edge then, right? Because I'm like, God damn it. I don't know what kind of snakes those are. For a little while, I thought they were water moccasins because my friends were trying to give me advice on, like, what the bellies look like. It's all about the bellies because water moccasins are, like, dark on top, But then, depending on like the pattern on their stomach, I was like, well, I didn't see their stomachs. Like, they were moving around. Like, I don't know. So, turns out they were not poisonous snakes. But we had a chipmunk in that yard, or like that previous summer. And that's what snakes like to do. They like to inhabit chipmunk holes. And the chipmunk had made a hole. Like, when you come off of our deck, off the one area, then there's like a slab of cement. And the chipmunk made a little hole underneath that cement. So my husband removed the snakes. Might have killed one. And then with a shovel. It was kind of a sad day. I was kind of sad after he killed it, but he had to. And then he like filled in the hole, and we didn't see that snake around anymore because like I had like several potted plants, and that snake caught me off guard several times because I thought it was like a hose or something, and I was like, we don't have a black hose, and then it like moves, and you're like, ah! You gotta run inside. And it's like, like I can't enjoy my life with these snakes slithering around. I can't. So, anyways, we removed the snakes. Then, I need to take a drink. My drink is almost gone. So then, later in the summer, I'm sitting here at home reading a book or something. It was quiet in here. And I hear this rustling noise. And at first I thought it was like the tree branches, because we have a tree really close to our house. And it kind of like, the branches kind of like go over at least the deck roof. I don't think they hit the house roof, but the deck roof is like, it's like right there. So I'm hearing this like rustling noise, and it sounds really weird. I'm like, what the hell is that? So I get up and I look out the window. I'm like, is it super windy outside? Not a tree is blowing. Kind of open the door. Stillest day ever. So I'm like, okay. So I come and I sit back down, and then I hear this like noise again. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And the best way to describe it is if you would like maybe put your hand or like rub something against sandpaper, like this like noise, like kind of like that, but like if I was rubbing my hand over sandpaper. And I was like, this is the weirdest noise ever. And I'm like, what is going, like, is there an animal in the tree or something? So I step outside, and I'm looking around, and right next to our door, like not right next, but like a little ways away, we have a chimney. So you like step out the door of our house, okay, like onto our deck, and then when you look to the right, like here's the door, you look to the right, there's a chimney stack here that the deck is like built up against, and then it's out there, it's like, then it's full, but you have this chimney stack right here. So I'm kind of like looking around, and then I look over, and there is a snake hanging in between the roof of the deck and like the house, and he's hanging next to the chimney, and I felt like I was in Jungle Book. I don't remember what that snake's name is, but you know how like creepy he was, and he'd like come up behind like Mowgli, and then he would like just slither right back up again. That's what this snake was. And I was like, I looked at the snake, and the snake looked at me, and I was like, oh hell no! And I ran inside, and that snake went whoop right back up. And then he started moving around, and I was like, oh my god, the snake is gonna get in the house. And then it sounded like he was in the fireplace, which we had a snake guy come. He told me that the snake can, because he believes it to be a rat snake, they can climb the grooves of the brick. And he's like, it was probably just that. Luckily, the fireplace is a gas fireplace, and they've closed it off, but like I didn't know the extent of the fireplace at this point because we like don't use it. And it sounded like he was gonna come in, and how big his head was, like this big, guys. I'm not even kidding you. I'm not. And so I call my husband and I'm like, where are you? And I was like shaking. Like, I don't know, like, because I didn't know at this point, like, what kind of snake it was. And I was like, is this a poisonous snake? Is he going to hurt us? Like, what the fuck? So my husband's like, okay, I think he just got home. Hold on a second. So I walked outside and I saw the snake, like, come up, freaking out, hearing him moving around up there. Sounds like sandpaper, like hand-on sandpaper. So I call my husband and I'm like, please tell me you can come home right now. And he was like, what's the matter? I was like, there's a snake in our attic. And he was like, no. And I was like, I think it might either be in the chimney or the attic, and I'm not sure if it can come through the chimney. And then as I'm on the phone with him, it sounds like he's in the chimney. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, get out! No, don't get in here! And I'm like screaming, and he's like, oh my God, like, what is going on? I was like, I saw a snake. We have a snake in the attic. You need to come home. And he's like, I'm not going to be able to do much. Like, I'll come home, but it's okay. Like, you need to call animal control or something. So I call animal control. And he's like, well, that isn't really my thing, but I'll come by and see if I can help you guys. And we're like, okay. So basically, like, if the snake was outside, he could have, like, done something about it. But, like, inside our house, like, he can't. And so when my husband came home, I was sitting, like, we have these, our table's, like, more of, like, a bar height table, And so our chairs are tall. I'm, like, sitting on the chair with my knees, like, and I was literally shaking. Wait, no. First, I was doing that. No. Then, actually, I was in between. So, we have two doors. We have the door from our deck, which we use as our front door. But depending on which way you come down our driveway kind of comes around our house. Our actual front door is, like, on the other side. So, I was, like, in the kitchen, like, in case the snake came through the fireplace, I could make a run for it out of the house. So, anyways, he comes home and he sees me just standing there, like, shaking, waiting for the snake to come through the chimney. And I'm like, honey, and he's just like, okay, you need to calm down. He's like, did you actually see the snake? I was like, I saw it. And so I'm, like, trying to explain the sound to him. You guys, he did not believe me. Which, to his credit, I see ghosts all the time. I'm just, an eccentric person sometimes. And I see ghosts and I believe in things. Like, I think he thought at this point I really lost my shit. And so I was like, I know I sound so crazy, but I'm telling you the truth. Like, I saw the snake and I heard him. And so then luckily the snake started moving when he was there. And I was like, listen. The snake was like slithering around and his eyes got super big. And he was like, okay, that is creepy. And I'm like, right? So I call a snake guy. Snake guy comes and he's like, confirms that I'm not an insane person. And he's like, yeah, it sounds like that because of the insulation in your attic. So I guess the insulation is not like packed down, it's like loose. And I don't know anything about houses, but ours is loose, okay? So the snake gets up and under it. And so he got up there and he was tearing around and everything up there. I even saw him, like, we have a few ceiling lights. I even saw him, like, hit some of the ceiling lights, which really, really freaked me out because I was like, if the snake hit the light hard enough, could it come down into the room? And he's like, no. I'm like, oh, okay. But he couldn't find it. And then he left, and I heard it again. So that little bastard was up there in the attic, and he was just hiding. And the guy could not find him. So he set some traps, which is like these net stuff and whatever. So a few days, and he was like, if you hear him up there, call me, and if I can, I'll come by. So I call him a few days later, and I hear somebody on the deck. I knew he was coming, and I hear somebody on the deck, and I fucked up, guys, because I opened the door. And when I opened the door, the snake was hanging out there, and he was watching it, and he has this, like big arm thing with, like, a little clipper on the end, so he can, like, get the snake by the head and hold it, because he doesn't kill the snakes. You know what he does with the snakes? The snake guy takes them to his house, especially if well, I don't know what he does with them if they're poisonous, but he said this is a rat snake. He takes the rat snakes out to his land. He lives on big land or something, and he lets them loose out there because they don't bother him. He's a snake guy. Of course not, right? So anyways, he had his, like, pinchers out, and when I opened the door, the snake went whoop, right back up. And I was so mad. He was like, I just saw it. And I was just like, oh my God, I messed it up, didn't I? And he was like, it's okay. So he blocked the hole that he thought the snake was coming in and out of, but this snake found another hole. The snake has multiple entrances. And our landlords luckily paid for it, because that was like $200. But yeah, he went up there a few different times. Could not find him. Even after that time, when he saw the snake go back up there, couldn't find him in the attic. So I've come to terms with the fact that I live with a snake now. He is our upstairs roommate. His name is Bert. Because, you know, if you're going to live with something, you got to give it a name. I hope to God he's a Bert and not a Berta, because I don't want little baby Bertas running around. I'm okay if it's Bert and he's a bachelor. He just goes out and does a thing. He comes home and he sleeps up there. Pretty sure he hibernated up there this winter. Otherwise, he just remembered where we lived and was like, oh yeah, this was like a nice place to stay last summer. Whatever, Bert. You can stay, only because so, you know, I'd like tell our friends this, and our friends that live like on a good sized land, that the ones with the rattlesnake. The rat snakes. Oh, so this, I'm missing a piece of information here. So when the snake guy saw Bert, he confirmed that he was a rat snake. So I was like, okay. And I was like, how big do you think Bert is? And he said 4 to 5 feet long. Okay. That's a big snake. That's almost as long as me. But whatever. So I'm like, okay. So I tell my friends about this. And my friends are so nonchalant. They're like, oh, it's a rat snake? Oh, that's good. He'll, like, eat the bad stuff. He'll, like, eat the mice. And they're like, you probably have mice in your attic. I'm like, thanks, guys, thanks. Which, the first year we were out here, that first summer when we didn't have any snakes, it was really weird because every time we would go away for, like, a long weekend or, like, we went on, like, a week's vacation, when we would come back, there would be evidence of a mouse in some way. One time the mouse got stuck in a sticky trap that we had for cockroaches. Another time a mouse got stuck in one of those but ate its way through. So we came into the kitchen and there were just like torn up bits of this trap all over the kitchen floor. And then we've had a few live ones that were running around that we did end up catching. Since Bert has been living with us, we have not had a mice issue. So I guess that's good. At least he's you know, keeping, what's that term? I don't remember what it's called. You guys know what I'm talking about. His keeps or whatever. What the fuck am I trying to say? Anyways, doesn't matter. So I'm so flustered. I was a little pissed this winter. We went away for my birthday, which I guess Bert, to his credit, was probably sleeping or hibernating at this point. But we came home and there was a dead mouse under our table, which my husband almost stepped on. Yeah. I was like, looked up the ceiling. I'm like, Bert! What the fuck? We had a deal, man. You kill the mice and you can stay here. And don't show yourself. So anyways, we have these traps. They're like these net things. Haven't caught Bert, but we've caught other things. And I've just come to terms that I live with a snake now. This is my life. My life is living with a snake. And it's weird because one area that he hangs out in, which I'm kind of nervous for him because it's near the chandelier in our kitchen area. So, like, sometimes when he's rolling around up there and I'm guessing killing something, because sometimes there's like thump noises. Like, no, that's bad noise. It's like, thump, thump. Okay, I can't make a thump noise, but you can imagine something hitting a ceiling. Guys, I'm getting silly. This drink is pretty strong. Anyways, you know, he's like moving around up there, and you just can tell he's killing something, how he's moving around. And then it's like he interferes, like the lights don't flicker, but there's this like buzzing noise, like and that's more accurate. I can do the buzzing noises. It's like this really weird noise. It's like he interferes with like the electrical stuff up there. I'm like, Bert, buddy, you're going to get yourself electrocuted. Stay away from it. But the snake guy confirmed for me that there's no way that he can get into the house. Because I'm like, what about the air vents? We have these air vents like in our ceiling. He's like, no, your air system is like completely separate. Like your vents do not lead up into your attic. So I'm like, okay. It's scary, guys, but it's life, and you just gotta deal with the hand that you're dealt. And in this scenario, I get to live with the snake, which is not something I ever thought would be my life. But it is. It is. All right, so I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. So just FYI, if I didn't make this clear, I have heard him moving around up there this summer. Not a lot. I heard him moving around one day, and I don't know if there's a hole between my attic and then like the covering of the deck, but I also think I heard him out there too. So Bert, buddy, if you see this, just stop, okay? They're supposed to be nocturnal. I've looked up rat snakes. Oh, and this is like another tidbit for you. So rat snakes do kill like small rodents and stuff, which is good. They also kill poisonous snakes. So they'll wrestle with a copper snake or a water moccasin. So, you know, it's, what do you do? On one hand, I don't want a snake living in my attic and freaking me out with his little subtle presence noise makers. And on the other, I don't want water moccasins or copperheads. Although I haven't seen any of those around my house. So, yeah. Or rattlesnakes. Yeah. Alabama's really fun, guys. You should come visit. Anyways, yeah. So, you know, I thought I was a tough bitch coming from Iowa. We got a lot of shit up there too. But the season, the warm season, is just not as long. So you don't get as many of these critter guys up there because they like it down here. They like it in a warmer, more tropical climate. Snakes are cold-blooded, you know. They don't like to hibernate. They like to be out and about. Like, Oh, hey, Sally. How are you doing today? I'm fine, Bert. Anyway. You guys, I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable. I don't like it that I live with a snake. But anyways, like, yeah, it's hard. But I'm thankful for no giant spiders. I will take a snake in my attic any day over a giant spider living with me. So, when I tell you where we're moving to next, and then when we actually move there, I will keep you all posted. Please pray for me that I never see a giant spider in my house, because I just don't think my heart can handle it. So, but all jokes aside, Alabama is a great place to live. We have really enjoyed this place. Like, we've obviously made some great friends, but there's so much fun stuff, and we love the warm weather. Like, we are warm weather people. Like, I really can't imagine myself living in a cold weather place ever again. And I never thought I would say that. When I moved from New York to LA, I was really worried because I'm such a season person, you know? And I do love fall. And there are moments in winter that I like, but that going on and on thing, like when it hits springtime and it's not summer yet, that really pisses me off and it makes me really sad. So, and like having to like wear layers all the time, which I wear layers in California, I guess, but it's just what you do all the time. Like, you don't have to think about it. Like, you wouldn't think how freeing and awesome that is to just be like, I know exactly what to wear today. It's stupid, but it's cool. So, moving here, yes, it gets very hot and humid in the summer, but you know, everyone likes to sit around and drink cocktails and that stuff, and eat like cool food and all that, and that's really nice. And so I guess if I have to deal with the occasional bug or snake or lizard, because we have those too, or scorpion. Luckily, I have not dealt with any scorpions, but our friends, they'll get a scorpion every once in a while. More in the like rocky areas, I guess. But yeah, I'll take that with the warm weather over snow, cold, rainy, wet, snowy, cold, below zero, Midwest any day. So, yeah. Oh, and then I wanted to say, oh yeah. So, also, in my wrap up, you know, I asked to come here, and I'm really happy we did, because I've always been so curious about the South, and just what life is like down here. And so it's been a really, really neat experience to be in like another culture of America and to feel, you know, and be immersed in this sort of lifestyle. And so I will say, if you want an adventure, if you want a change of pace, join the military, and they will take you places. Not necessarily places that you would think like, oh, I want to go here, but the military brought us here. And that's kind of cool. If you don't want to join the military, but still want kind of that thing, marry a military person. Because you'll get, like, taken with, at least to their duty stations. But no, I'm just thankful for our time here. I would have never done this necessarily on my own, and now I love the South, and will certainly consider it as a spot for when my husband retires from the military and we have to choose a place to live. We're definitely gonna we'll consider maybe Alabama or somewhere else in the South for sure. So, anyways, I hope this episode today didn't make any of you too squeamish. I know I have a few friends who are scared of some snakes, my family included. My family's terrified of snakes. Sorry, Grandma and Grandpa. Sorry, Mom, if you don't come and stay here with me. The snakes can't get in the house. You just have to be ASP. Always stay paranoid when you walk outside. But anyways, you know, is what it is. So thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you got to try the lavender bee's knees. This was delicious. And cheers. I'll see you guys soon.